Korean period dramas that depict the country's contemporary or modern history have recently gained popularity on streaming platforms, not only domestically, but globally. They are characterized by their use of actual historical events and the social ambience of that period. Let's find out with our culture critic, Professor Chie Hye-won at Kyung Hee University. Hello, Professor Chie. Welcome back.
Hi, Professor.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, first and foremost, when we talk about period dramas dealing with Korean contemporary history or modern history, which period are we talking about exactly? And also, what are the characteristics of that era?
Okay, the period that divides modern Korean history is usually considered to be after independence from Japanese colonial rule in 1945. So although the past 8 years are recognized as modern Korean history, the period is sometimes divided into more detailed periods based on changes in political and social environments. For instance, the 1950s are defined as the first and second republics after the Korean War and the armistice. And the 1960s to the 1980s are the period of rapid economic development known as Third and Fourth Republics. So the period of time can be said to be a history of rapid change and gradual growth.
So now let's talk a little bit more about recent productions that are set in those eras. So recently released K-dramas have grabbed attention not only domestically but also globally. So we're talking about Low Life, or in Korean, 파인 촌뜨기들, and Aema, which is also Aema in Korean. So please tell us about each of these productions and how they are doing right now.
The Low Life, 파인 촌뜨기들 is a K-drama series based on the webtoon of the same name, written by Yoon Tae-ho and directed by Kang Yoon-sung, who has directed The Big Bet, Casino, and The Outlaws, 범죄도시, the first one. And this series released on Disney Plus in last July. Starring Yoo Seung-yong, Im Soo-jung, and Yang Se-jong, it ranked first among the most watched Korean original released on Disney Plus in 2025. And it also ranked high on charts in major overseas regions such as Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Turkey. And Aema is a story based on the early 1980s Korean 충무로 film industry, and especially it deals with the production process of the hit film Madame Aema, the real film. So, starring Lee-han, Bang Hyo-rin, and Jin Sun-gyu. This series highlights the struggle and power structure faced by the female actors who experience sexual objectification and speaks of women's solidarity and self-determination. It entered the top 10 of Netflix TV shows in several Southeast Asian countries, including Indonesia, Taiwan, Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand.
Wow, impressive. And I want to talk a little bit more about Low Life. As you mentioned, Low Life is based on Korean webtoon and is also the true story of Treasure Ship from the 1970s.
Right.
So what do you think kind of sets this apart from other webtoon-based dramas?
Right, that's right. The Low Life is based on the webtoon that inspired by the real life incident when in 1975, a sunken 14th century Chinese ship was discovered at the coast of Sinan, South Korea. So although it is based on a webtoon, the fact that it is based on actual events, that makes the historical context in the work in that drama much more realistic. So this drama deals with the greed and selfishness of various group of people in search of treasure buried in the sea. So each character has their own story of longing for treasure, and although they are on the same boat, but the betrayal is repeated and creating an endless tension to the end, actually. So although, among others, the character of Yang Jung-suk, played by Im Soo-jung, who rose from an account clerk to the wife of the old chairman, so she actually completes an active woman character with stunning beauty and natural cleverness. So that the character shows the interesting imagery of the woman in the 1970s.
Now, a very different story, but also featuring a very powerful women. We're now going to talk about Aema. Now, as you mentioned before, it is a work that reinterprets Chungmuro of the 1980s and through a female perspective. And of course, Chungmuro, that was where the film industry really kicked off here in Korea. And at the time, R-rated films like Madame Aema or Aema Buin in Korean, those were a spectacle back then. So could you please compare Aema and Aema Buin or Madame Aema, and also the respective, the producers' respective aims behind these works? Because I think there are many people who are currently watching Aema but haven't watched Aema Buin.
Of course, yes. Right, the Aema is a fictionalized version of the real-life production of Madame Aema, Aema Buin, the Korean famous R-rated film in 1980s. So in the 80s, the so-called 3S, sports, screen, sex policy was implemented to calm the political and social situation. So amidst this atmosphere, many films focused on sexual commercialization, and Madame Aema is one of the representative R-rated film that was produced in a series of 13 films from 1982 to 1990. So it was one of the famous films. So, but the character in the Netflix's Aema is not just the sexual object or overly feminine as the women in other 1980s films. So one of the main themes of Aema, Netflix's Aema, is solidarity and loyalty among women. So Hiran and Chue, the main characters, they respect and support each other, but they choose their own way, which they believe is right. So this is why the female characters in Aema conveyed refresh and meaningful messages in a male-dominated period of time, 1980s. So although it deals with the dark side of producing R-rated film, the story of self-protection, or like finding their own way in a harsh era is interesting enough, I think, to both domestic and international viewers as well.
It is. And also, I have to say, I fell in love with the characters, both by Ihani and also Bang Hyo-rin. And Bang Hyo-rin, I think it's her first main role with this series. And they call her actually the 샛별 of Chungmuro. So we still use that word Chungmuro when we talk about films. And they're saying that she's like a rising star of the film industry of Chungmuro. So definitely something to watch.
I need definitely to catch up on Aema as well. But speaking about Aema and low life, there are details within the dramas that's distinct Korean and local details as well. Do you think these kind of attract foreign viewers even more?
Yeah, of course I do. The modern Korean history has been a period of time, as I said earlier, like a political and social upheaval. So, and the films and dramas that reveal such social aspects would be popular as well among foreign audiences as well. So the diverse characters in low life dream to finding treasure and turning their lives around with their big money. So they don't even hesitate to commit crime to become rich, but this dream was possible in a society far less organized than today. So it's like 1970s version of a Squid Game, I think. Yes, they like fight each other, but sometimes they collaborate to find their treasure, but they betray her and repeat it again and again. So, and Aema does not simply discuss the process of making a film, but also critically discusses the unethical attitude of the government and those in power at the time toward the female actors. So the scene at the end of the drama, where An So-young, the real-life actress of Aema Buin, Madame Aema, appears as a presenter of the Lifetime Achievement Award in a kind of, I think that was a kind of a way to deliver respectful and healing messages to penetrating the rough and rude times in 1980s to the female actors. So I think that this process of reinterpreting of our history would be interesting as well to the overseas viewers.
Interesting. And you've introduced today Low Life and Aema. But are there any other works that's on those modern Korean history? And I want to ask you also, compared to previous works, what are some of the new characteristics that you're seeing in these new films recently?
Yeah, there have been quite a few recent works that deal with Korean modern history. 정년, The Star is Born, 정년이, and When Life Gives You Tangerine, 폭삭 속았수다. Both work also show the times in Korea during the 1950s to 1960s. So these recent works are notable for focusing on growth and relationship of characters. And within the historical context, rather than telling more about the historical events themselves, like a Korean War or the actual fact, but they are trying to focus on the characters and storytellings around the period of time. So, and even though it deals with the dark or unfortunate times, the overall tone and manner of the work is not that dark. So they are also characteristically cheerful. So I believe this approach is suitable for attracting younger or overseas viewers, as they can follow the story well enough, even if they do not fully understand the historical fact or social context.
Right. I think you made a very good point there. I mean, if you make it too obvious that this is a contemporary historic drama, then maybe it's not as appealing to the global audience. But having other elements in there, like love stories and so forth, or family stories, it makes it much more interesting. But last but not least, to keep expanding on productions based on contemporary or Korean modern history, what should we do? What are some strategies?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Korea's modern history is a fascinating subject to international audiences as well, because it showcases the many social achievements gained in a very short period of time. Relatively short period of time. So in that sense, I think that modern Korean history will be suitable for productions as more OTT series or films in the future as well. However, for those who are not that familiar with that Korean history or society, I think that rather than overly enforcing the historical and social background, it would be better to naturally incorporate the era into the storytelling, led by the characters that represent the period of time, the times well enough.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Chie, for your insights as always, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Bella, as always. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes, I'll see you back next week.